A millionaire donated 5,000 rubles to a homeless girl and decided to find out what she would buy. What he saw brought tears to his eyes. Before continuing, write in the comments what side you are watching this video from. Enjoy watching. The morning was cool and cloudy, rare rays of sunshine broke through the gray clouds. I, Sergey, was strolling along the alley of an old city park, which had become a familiar place for me to reflect on business and make important decisions. However, my soul remained as cold and gray as this morning. I was a well-known businessman, whose success was the result of toughness and calculation. The reputation of an unemotional person who never made concessions accompanied me throughout my life. I didn't need friends or relatives, I was used to controlling everything and doing without pity. On the side of the road stood a little girl of about 8, holding a sign with uneven letters, "Please help." Her big and sad eyes met mine. There was something in that look that I couldn't ignore, not tears, but a calm, adult, smyrony, humility, and weariness that had no place in childhood. Unexpectedly to myself, I stopped. "How much do you need?" I asked, surprised by my own voice. The girl lowered her head and squeezed the sign in her small, cold-reddened hands. "A lot." 5,000, she whispered, almost without looking up. I froze for a moment. I could have thought it was a trick or a deception, but something in her voice made me dismiss my doubts. I reached into my pocket, took out a leather wallet, and took out the money. "Here, take it." She held out her hands to take the money, her eyes widened, but she said nothing. Instead, the girl sharply turned and ran down the street so fast, as if afraid someone would take it away from her. I stood there for a long time. Usually, I wasn't interested in the fate of those to whom I gave alms, believing that their problems were the result of their own mistakes. But now it was different, anxiety crept into my heart. What does she want to buy? I thought, and curiosity overcame me. I decided to follow her. The girl walked purposefully, without looking back, heading to the nearest store. I, trying to keep my distance, watched her. In the store, the girl chose bread, milk, and several packages of pasta. She carefully placed all this in a basket and went to the cashier. After paying, she hurried out of the store. I thought that her purchases ended there, but the girl turned to the neighboring pharmacy. In the pharmacy, she purchased several packages of medicines and quickly hid them in her bag. With each step, I felt something like anxiety more and more. Everything looked as if she was preparing something very important, as if each purchase was of decisive importance. The girl headed towards the outskirts of the city, turned onto narrow streets where no one had lived for a long time, and finally stopped at an old, dilapidated house. The windows were broken, and the walls were covered with cracks. I watched as she opened the rickety door. Looking into the dirty window, I saw a scene that made my heart clench. In the corner of a dark room lay a woman, her face was emaciated, and her skin was gray. Her hands, as thin as branches, were hugging the girl. The girl was saying something to her, trying to cheer her up. I stood in silent stupor, everything inside me seemed to turn over. I suddenly realized that the values that were customary for me had no value compared to the love and despair that I had just seen. "Mom, I brought food and medicine, everything will be fine, we will manage." Her voice was full of determination, although there was a hidden anxiety in it. She carefully laid out the purchased products on the floor, bread, milk, and pasta. Then she took out the medicine and quickly began to disassemble the packages. The woman hardly raised herself on her elbows, and her pale face lit up with a faint, grateful smile. "You're such a omniscient clever girl, Sonia," she whispered, hardly picking up words, "but you need to rest, you get too tired." "No, Mom, I'll manage," the girl firmly replied, pouring milk into a cup. "Here, drink this, it will make you feel better." The woman took the cup with trembling hands and took a few sips. I stood motionless outside the window, watching this scene. I couldn't take my eyes off what I saw. I had always avoided other people's problems and needs, convincing myself that I was just one person, unable to change the world. But now this excuse seemed, Zalcom, pathetic, to me. I gave money, but what's the point? They need much more, I thought, feeling shame and guilt that I had never experienced before. My hand slowly reached for the door. After knocking, I froze in anticipation. The girl screamed in surprise, frightenedly jumped to the door, covering it with her body. "Who's there?" Her voice was shaking. "It's me," I said quietly, trying to make my voice sound soft. "Don't be afraid, I won't hurt you." The door opened slightly, and Sonia's eyes flashed with anxiety and distrust, but, seeing my familiar face, she hesitated only for a moment, then slowly opened the door. I carefully entered, examined the room, and a feeling of unbearable pity flashed in my heart. The woman lying on the mattress tried to rise, but her strength quickly ran out. On the floor stood the only plate of soup, already cooled down and barely started. "Do you need help?" I said. Anna, that's the girl's mother's name, looked at me with exhausted determination. "We'll manage," she replied quietly, but her words didn't convince even herself. "You are in a serious condition, Sonia won't be able to do everything herself," I continued, "you must let me help." For a moment, silence reigned in the room. Sonia stood next to her mother, squeezing her hand. I knew that words were just words, and action was needed here. I pulled out my phone and called my friend, a famous doctor. "I have an urgent situation, a woman is seriously ill, immediate help is needed, can you come?" "Yes, we'll come now," was the short and confident reply. I put my phone in my pocket and looked at Anna. "The doctors will be here soon, everything will be fine." At that moment, for the first time in a long time, I felt that I was doing something from the bottom of my heart, not for profit, not for prestige, but simply because someone really needed my help. Half an hour later, breaking the silence of the night yard, an ambulance pulled up to the house. Red lights illuminated the gray walls of the dilapidated house, trying to squeeze out all the accumulated pain from them. A tall man in a white coat, Sergey's old friend, Dr. Alexander, got out of the car. Where's the patient? He asked sternly, with professional composure. I pointed to the door, and the doctor entered. For several minutes, he examined Anna, who lay unable to even speak. His face remained calm, but his eyes expressed anxiety. She has severe exhaustion and infection, immediately to the hospital. He ordered the paramedics, who had already prepared the stretcher. Sonia clung to her mother, her eyes shining with restrained tears. The doctor nodded, understanding that the girl could not be left alone. We'll all go together, I added firmly, and there was no doubt in my voice. At the hospital, a shift team met them. Anna was immediately sent to the emergency room. Sonia did not take her eyes off the doors behind which her mother had disappeared. Her eyes seemed too old for her age. Soon one of the doctors came out to them. His face was serious, but no longer with the tension with which he had entered the ward. She has severe exhaustion and infection, but her condition has stabilized. There is hope that she will be able to recover. The doctor's words sounded like a ray of light in the darkness. Sonia exhaled in relief, but tears still broke through. She rushed to hug me, clinging to me with her whole body. Thank you, she whispered. I, who usually kept my distance even with my closest friends, suddenly felt warmth and responsibility for this little bundle of life on my shoulder. I promised you help, and I won't break that promise. At that moment, for the first time in many years, I felt something new, a feeling of genuine closeness with another person, and with this came a new goal that was more important than anything I had ever done. I didn't leave Sonia alone that difficult day. I realized that the girl had been struggling for too long with troubles that were beyond even an adult. And now I decided to take responsibility for them. All night I spent at the hospital, sitting next to Sonia. She fell asleep, resting her head on my shoulder, but even in her sleep her face remained tense. In the morning, I contacted the chief doctor of the clinic and ordered that all expenses for Anna's treatment be fully paid. Are you really ready to take on these obligations? The doctor asked, surprised by the generosity of a millionaire known for his coldness. Yes, I will do everything so that they don't need anything, I replied firmly. Anna was kept in the hospital for several weeks. Her condition slowly improved. Doctors noted that, in addition to medicines, an important role in recovery was played by the attention and care that she now received. Sonia spent every day next to her mother, and I didn't miss a single visit. I brought the girl books and small gifts, trying to return the smile to her face. Mom and I have never lived so well, Sonia once said, opening a new drawing album. Thank you. These words deeply touched my heart. I realized that I was not just helping, I was becoming a part of their life. On discharge day, Anna looked tired, but her eyes were no longer as empty as before. She could walk on her own, leaning on a cane, and even tried to smile, seeing Sonia run into the hall with a joyful face. When they left the hospital, I was already waiting at the doors, dressed in a strict but comfortable suit. My eyes met Anna's, and in them she saw not the former coldness, but warmth and participation. We found you a home, I said, opening the car door. Anna froze. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. You found us a home? She whispered, afraid that she was being deceived or that it was just a dream. I nodded. You don't have to go back to that old house anymore. This house will be only for you and Sonia, everything is ready there for your move. Anna couldn't hold back tears, they poured out suddenly, hot streams of relief and gratitude. All the tension of the last months, all the hardships found a way out. I don't know how to thank you, she said, hardly picking up words. I reached out to her. Anna put her hand in my palm. For the first time in a long time, she felt safe. Sonia hugged her mother, and the three of them stood like this for a few moments, three people connected by suddenly arising friendship and new hopes. At that moment, confidence appeared in Anna's soul, a new beginning awaited them, and in this new beginning, I was not just a casual benefactor. The time, which seemed endless when Anna was fighting for her life, now flowed smoothly and calmly. In the house that I gave them, there was comfort and joy. It became their reliable support and haven. Sonia grew up, turning from a fragile girl into a confident and cheerful student. She easily entered a local school, where she quickly made friends and became one of the best students. The teachers admired her curiosity and kindness. But Sonia didn't forget who helped her get through this path. Anna also changed. With each day, her face gained more and more strength and confidence. She got a job in a small library, which she had always dreamed of. There she helped children find books, inspired them to read, and told stories full of hope. Now she could not only take care of Sonia but also give joy to others. I became a frequent guest in their house. I came almost every evening not on business, but because I felt truly happy here. I liked watching Sonia read new books or draw with colored pencils on the kitchen table. I listened with joy as Anna told about her success at work, and every time I left, I felt a lightness that had long disappeared from my life. One quiet spring evening, Sonia decided to talk to me alone. She called me into the yard, where there was a bench under a flowering apple tree, on which they often sat. You saved us, Sonia began. Her voice was full of sincerity and deep gratitude. I will never forget it. If it weren't for you, my mom and I don't even know what would have happened to us. I looked at her attentively. The stars were reflected in her eyes, but even more so, her warm heart. Thank you, Sergey, she added almost in a whisper. I leaned forward, gently took her little hand, and squeezed it in mine. You changed my heart, Sonia, I said with deep sincerity. Before the day I saw you in the park, I thought my life was just business and money. I was close to everything that was connected with feelings. But you showed me that the real power is love, care, and loyalty to those we love. Sonia smiled, and her smile was brighter than all the stars in the sky. At that moment, Anna came to them. She had heard Sergey's last words and could not hold back tears. Thank you for being with us, you didn't just save us, you became our family, she said, sitting down next to them. The three of them sat under a flowering tree, surrounded by the aroma of spring and the warmth of the feelings that connected their destinies. Their lives could have turned out differently, but thanks to a chance meeting and mutual care, they found something more than just happiness, they found each other, and this was the most important miracle in their lives.